Hi, client so and so. Thanks for calling me back.
No problem. I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation with Miss Lawyer. We got a good conversation going about the possible settlement, and so, like as we discussed, it was a without prejudice conversation. So, we were a little bit more forthcoming. I didn't say too much about our position other than what you and I had discussed, and so, she can't use that against us if we end up not making it through settlement and end up going to trial. So it was a pretty good conversation. We were both pretty frank. I mean, obviously she's going to advocate for her client, but yeah, so we were both a little bit more frank in in this conversation than we've been previously, and I think that because of that we're able to hopefully get to some kind of solution. So as long as you're still okay with us having those without prejudice conversations, I think we're going to be in a good spot to get something resolved. How does
Yeah,
that sound?
whatever gets me back in the house faster.
Right. Yeah. See, and I love that. Like, I was a little bit more loose on that one. I didn't quite push that because I mean, there's value for you to get out of a hotel and into back into your house for sure. So, you know, um, I did say that you did want to get back there, and that you might, like as we discussed, you might be willing to forego some of the restoration costs. But to get to the meat and potatoes of it, Ms. Lawyer offered their initial number out to us was 75,000. So that's quite low.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't like not being in the house, but that's much too low. That's not a dent in what it's going to cost.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you on that. I mean, I already told Miss Lawyer absolutely not. Like that's way too low. I even asked her, like exactly how are you how are you coming across this number? I mean, that's there's no way this is something you can agree to. So like, um that that with the facts that we've gotten, then she's going to have an uphill battle because they're trying to say that there's some damage that's attributable to you, which you and I have discussed that, and I don't know how they think they're going to prove that. It is a huge battle for them for sure. So again, like the $75,000 was just a no-go from our mind. And on top of that, like if we go to trial, I think that we're going to get a number that's above 175, possibly 210. And so if we're willing to forego some of the restoration costs at a number around 175, that's going to be a lot more reasonable. And we don't have to worry about going to trial for one. And more importantly, in my opinion, they don't have to worry about going to trial. So I think that's where we kind of were, at odds today was, I'm saying for us to forego restoration costs, 175 is the actual damage caused by the employee, in our opinion. So I think that's kind of a good base point for us. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think I'd like to have the additional costs, but to get out of here, to get the original costs back, yeah, 175 sounds fine.
Yeah. And again, like, if they're not willing to agree to that number, then we're going to go full bore for the 210 and
Right.
see costs, right? So I think that, the difficulty for us is that Miss Laura's just got to work with company X and try and get them to a number if their starting point is 75. Um, she's got a bit of an uphill battle, I think, on her end with her clients on multiple reasons. So I'm hoping that they're not going to be too stubborn with respect to that number. And hopefully there's some room for them to kind of push, for Miss Laura to get her client up to the 175 point. I mean, if we're foregoing, you know, almost 40, well, just $45,000, that's a big chunk of change plus trial costs. I think that might be something to encourage a little bit more reasonable of a counter offer back from them. So, we don't want to get too excited yet because I think it's still early days for these settlement conversations. And I think that Ms. Lawyer, she's going to try and get back to me next week. So if I hear anything, I can absolutely let you know. And in the meantime, just keep tallying your receipts for everything while you're out of the house. So he can just keep adding it to the costs for sure.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. That makes sense. You know where I am.
Okay, great. Well, we'll talk to you in a week unless I hear something sooner.
Okay. Talk to
All
you then.
right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.